This is an AI-generated podcast based on the article Born a Light: How a Fourth-Generation Indian Christian Carries a Legacy of Miraculous Faith into the Marketplace, written by April. The article link is in the show notes. Welcome back to Kingdom Factor Collective. I'm your host, April, and today I'm sitting down with Deepak, a senior sourcing merchandiser based in southern India, connecting Indian manufacturers with U.S. retail companies. But honestly, his professional title is almost the least interesting thing about him. Deepak, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, April. I'm really glad to be here and to share what God has done in my life.
So I want to start at the very beginning, and I mean the very beginning, because your name, Deepak, means lamp in Hindi. And when I learned that, I thought, that's not coincidence, that's calling. But before we even get to you, there's this incredible lineage behind you. You're a fourth-generation Christian. Can you just unpack what that means, where it started?
Yes, so my great-grandfather, he was a temple high priest in southern India, and he made this decision to leave everything he knew, and convert to Christianity. That was at great personal cost, and that one decision, it set something in motion. It flowed to my grandfather, to my father, to me, and now to my son. I am the fourth generation in Christian. And when I think about that single act of courage from my great-grandfather, it carried a sermon all by itself,
That's incredible. A temple high priest walking away from everything. And now, 4 generations later, here you are. I also read that your family tree includes Catholics, Methodists, Protestants, and you had this really striking way of describing that. You said they teach the same. What did you mean by that?
Right, exactly. It's because of Jesus. That's the common thread. People focus so much on the dividing lines, the denominations, the traditions, but when you really know what matters, you find the thing that connects everyone. And for us, it's Jesus. Full stop. Does that make sense?
Completely. And honestly, that kind of maturity, that ecumenical openness, I think that comes from knowing what's actually at the center. Now, I have to ask about 2020, because what happened with your mother that year is just, it stopped me in my tracks when I read it. Can you walk us through it?
So here's what happened. My mother was diagnosed with cancer. The doctors reviewed her MRI scans and they told us 6 to 8 months. That was it. The cancer had spread significantly. It had reached the liver. Medically, the case was closed, and we were devastated. But we prayed, our family prayed and kept praying. Then came the surgery, and when the doctors opened the incision, there was nothing. No cancer, no sign of the disease that had been so clearly on every scan. She walked out of that operating room healed, and she's alive today, more than 25 years later.
25 years? I mean, that's not a medical anomaly, that's a miracle. And I imagine that moment, that testimony, it anchors everything for you.
It does. It really does. When temptations come, when the pressures of work pile up, when the path forward feels unclear, I return to that moment because the God who healed my mother has not changed. He works in different ways, and he will never leave his people who believe in him.
And there's actually another miracle you almost mentioned in passing, like a footnote, but it's anything but small. You were born a stillborn. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, doctors had given no hope for my survival. But my aunt, she was a woman of such fierce, interceding faith. She fought for my life in those first fragile moments, and I survived. She passed away during COVID, and I carry her memory with so much grief and gratitude at the same time. I feel blessed that I was still born, because God and my aunt gave me this life. When you understand that your very existence is a miracle, the pressures of career decisions, the competition of the marketplace, they settle into a very different perspective.
That is such a profound way to frame it, and I want to stay in that space for a second because you're incredibly honest about the tension between faith and the demands of your work. 90-minute commutes each way, long days in international business. You said something really candid. You said you give very less time to prayer and scripture than you know you should. That kind of honesty, why did you want to say that out loud?
Because it's true, I think so many Christian professionals feel this but don't say it. The world will take everything you give it. And I'm pressing forward with the faith I have. trusting that God honors the desire to grow even when the schedule doesn't cooperate. But I know He is there. He will not leave. Whether people leave Him, He will never leave. And I guard what I can. Sundays for worship, Saturdays for family and rest. Those rhythms matter.
That's not a small thing, protecting those rhythms in a demanding career. And I understand you're at a kind of crossroads right now. After 12 years with your company, you're sensing a shift. What's stirring in you?
So I'm praying about launching a business of my own, specifically sourcing and distributing Christian products from India to the US marketplace. I see significant demand and opportunity there. But I'm not rushing. I'm waiting on the Lord to show me the path, the timing, the provision, up to God's will. And those three words, they are not resignation for me. They are trust. Solid trust from a man who has watched God show up when doctors gave up.
Up to God's will. From someone with your testimony, that phrase carries real weight. Okay, last question, and this one I really want to sit with. What would you say to a Christian leader out there who is struggling today? Maybe feeling crushed by the demands of work, maybe feeling like their faith isn't where it should be.
I'd say keep on praying, trusting, having faith, and wait for the perfect time of His to change your life. Some days are tough, some days are good, some days are bad. Never leave Him. He is the best. He is the Father, the friend, He's everything. Keep trusting Him. He'll make things possible in every way. His time is perfect.
His time is perfect. Deepak, this has been such a gift. Thank you for your honesty, for your faith, and for sharing your story with our listeners. Everyone, the full article that inspired this conversation is linked in the show notes. Give it a read, and if it moved you, share it with someone who needs it today.